Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back to another beautiful tutorial. It's me IJ, and today we have another tutorial to deal with. I would like to say a very big thank you to all my returning subscribers, my amazing family. You guys are very supportive. I appreciate you guys. I don't take it for granted. All your comments, all your likes, I appreciate you. Thanks very much. And if you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Subscription is free. Support me by subscribing. So now let's get into today's tutorial. As you can see right behind me on the screen, this is the top that we are going to DIY. It is a one-sided off shoulder, and the hand is going to be a little bit exaggerated. That is, it's going to have an exaggerated sleeve with a one-sided shoulder. It's very simple to achieve. So guys, without wasting much time, let us start drafting. Normally, you can draft this top by cutting them together, but because of the material that I'm using, I want it to be well placed. So I'm going to cut it the front. After cutting the front, then I'll use the front to cut the back. It's exactly the same thing because it doesn't have a zip and it's an off shoulder, one-sided off shoulder. So I'm going to cut the front and use the front to cut out the back. In cutting this kind of sleeve, there are two ways to cut it. You can start from the center of your back. For instance, now I'll use this mannequin to show you guys an example. Here is the center back. Here is the center back. So while cutting this type of blouse or top, that is a blouse that will not have an armhole, that the shoulder and the armhole comes together, you now place your tape on the center of your back and then measure it to where you want it to be on your hand. That is how long you want the sleeve to be. That is what you are going to measure. You can do it in this form, or you can determine your shoulder measurements, and after which you add the number of inches of your desired length. Also in that form, you can achieve this type of top that we're making today. So now, I will now use the method of from the center back to where I want it to stop. So now guys, from my center back, that is, if you can see, now guys, from my center back here, I would like it to stop at 26. I would like it to stop at 26 from my center back. But at this 26, I'm not going to cut it at 26. I'm going to add some inches to it, because when I now put the elastic that I will put, as you can see on the picture, it has an elastic that will make it to bounce up. So while bouncing up, it needs some allowances to make it to bounce up. So I'm going to add extra 6 inches to this, my 26 inches. So altogether, what I will measure at is 32 inches. This here is the starting point. So from this starting point now, I'm going to measure 32 inches. So here is my 32 inches. Here is my 32 inches. And now, I will insert some of my measurements from the shoulder to my chest line is 8 inches. Shoulder to my waist is 16 inches. Shoulder to my waist is 16 inches. Shoulder to my hip is 22 inches. And the length of the blouse we are making is 23 inches, including seam allowance. So now I'll also bring it down here to 23 inches. And also my waist. And also my chest line. So I will make it into a straight line. Now guys, I've made it into a straight line. I hope you guys are seeing the line good. I've made it into a straight line. So the next thing to now guys, the neckline we are working with is 3 by 4. What do I mean by 3 by 4? 3 by 4 is that the width of the neck is 4 inches and the depth of it is 3 inches. So I'll connect it in this form. Do you see it? I've connected it here. And on this 32 inches that we measured there, I'm going to come down by 1 inch as my shoulder slope. Here, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. So I'll now connect from these 4 inches, I'll connect to the 1 inch slope. Do you see it? That is our shoulder slope. We connected it there. So now, the thing to insert now is our horizontal measurement. The chest, the bust we are working with is bust 38. 38 divided by 4 is 9.5. So I'm going to measure at this chest line 9.5. Because it's a bit fitted, I'm going to add only 1 inch seam allowance. That is 10.5 at the chest line. The waist we are working with, it weighs 34. 34 divided by 4 is 8.5. I'm going to mark at my 8.5 and add only 1 inch seam allowance. And on the hip, the hip we are working with is 42. 42 divided by 4 is 10.5. I mark at 10.5 plus 1 inch seam allowance. It's going to be a bit fitted. So now, this is our measurement. So that's our horizontal measurement. Now, how do you want to achieve your sleeve? Remember, we are working with 32 because we want it to be full. We want it to be exaggerated. So that is why we are working with 32. And this 32 that is on the shoulder, I'm going to bring it down to the waist because I want the sleeve to get to the waist. Remember, it is a sleeve that is going to be one-sided off shoulder. That is the blouse, the top we are making is one-sided off shoulder. So now I'm going to bring this 32 inches we have on the shoulder down to the waist. Do you see it? I'll mark at 32. So I'll give it a straight line. And I gave it a straight line. And I gave it a straight line. Now, I would like my sleeve to come till the waist line. I want my sleeve to come till the waistline. That is where I want my sleeve to be. From the shoulder, I want it because I want it to be exaggerated. So I'm going to make it to come to the waistline. So from this waistline, now I'm going to come in by only ½ inch. I don't want it to be so straight. So I came in by ½ inch, and from this ½ inch, I'll connect it to the point of the shoulder slope. So now, on achieving our sleeve, now the sleeve is going to start to stop at the waist. So on coming to here, I wouldn't want it to be so straight. So I'm going to come down by 2 inches or 3 inches from the waistline. So let me come down by 2 inches. I will now come down by 2 inches from the waistline. So from this 2 inches from the waistline that I came down, I'm going to connect it because I don't want it to be so straight. So I'm going to connect it to meet the point of the waist. So from here, I'm going to connect it in this form. Do you see it? That is from the waist. Remember, we came down by 2 inches. So from these 2 inches now, I'll connect to my hip. Do you see it? I connect to my hip. So that's all. You have achieved your gorgeous top. And remember, when we cut the neckline open, we are going to also now achieve our off shoulder, one-sided off shoulder. So guys, now let's cut it out. Now guys, I have cut out our top. Do you see it? That's the first part, that is the front. I'll now use this front to cut out the back side before we now derive our one-sided off shoulder. Now guys, I have cut out the front and the back together. Do you see it? So now we are going to open it up. The right side facing each other or the wrong side facing each other for us to achieve our one-sided. Do you see it? Do you see our blouse? Do you see it, guys? So simple to achieve. Do you see the sleeve? When you now add your elastic and pull it, it will now bounce up to be full. Do you see it? Also this side. So now guys, remember you are going to place it the wrong side facing each other or the right side facing each other. Now guys, I have opened up our top for us to achieve our one-sided off shoulder. So place the two together, place the front and back together, the wrong side facing each other or the right side facing each other for you to achieve. On any side of the neckline, you can use it to achieve it. So remember, we took away 4 inches as the width of our neckline is 4 inches. So from here now to here is 8 inches that we are having. We are having 8 inches as the width of our neckline. So from here to here is 8 inches because we took away 4 inches. So on this side, I'm going to take also 4 inches to make it the off shoulder, one-sided off shoulder. But remember, the more inches you use, the deeper the off shoulder will be. So now I'm going to use 4 inches. So from this edge, I'm going to mark 4 inches. So now I've marked 4 inches here. So from these 4 inches, I'll connect it straight to get to this neckline. So now I'll connect it with your free hand. You can also use your cuff. Do you see it? Do you see it now? So from these 4 inches, I now connected it straight to the neckline. So now let us cut it out. Now guys, have you seen it? The one-sided off shoulder have been achieved. So the next thing I have to do now, you can decide to work it out with your bias, or you can decide to work it out with your facing. If you want to work it out your facing, what you have to do is to take some of the leftover materials that you have, fold it in, that is, fold it in two, some of the leftover materials, take it up, take this up, place it under. Just place it under, and you see it, you just place it under it. Have to achieve your facing. If you want to work it out with the facing, just trace it out. Do you see it? So now I've placed it under. Just take the leftover material, put it under it, and place the neckline on it to cut it out and to achieve your facing. So now I'll cut it to achieve my facing. So now let us cut it out. So just trace it from the neckline, exactly the neckline. Do you see it? Just trace exactly the neckline to cut it. Then now you take away your main material and now determine how many inches you want the facing to be. So for me, I don't want it to be much, so I'm going to just cut it out like 2 inches. So now guys, this is our facing. Do you see it? So I'm going to use it to turn. Do you see it exactly the same shape with our neckline? Do you see it? So I'm going to use it now to go to the machine to turn it. Take ½ inch to close the shoulder and also 1 inch that we now took for the sides. I'll now close it up. Hem the down part of it. Remember, 1 inch to hem it. Then I'll hem the down part of it and also close the sleeve. I'll close the sleeve and I'll keep 1 inch opening to insert my elastic, after which I'll show to you guys, and our top is ready. Now guys, I have fixed our blouse. Do you see how beautiful it's looking already? Do you see it? It's just a free blouse with exaggerated sleeve and one-sided off shoulder. So I have now closed it up with the inches that we left and also hemmed the down part of it. I've hemmed the down part of it, closed the side with 1 inch, and also on the sleeve I have closed it. While closing it, I left 1 inch opening here. So remember to leave 1 inch opening where you will insert your elastic from. So I now left 1 inch open. So the next thing to do now is to insert our elastic. And also you can see the neckline. I've turned it with the facing, sewn it. I turn it with the facing and I've given it a little pressing for us to see how it looks like. So the next thing to do now is to insert our elastic. Just measure out your sleeve opening where you want your sleeve to be. Remember, when this elastic is on it, you have to draw it up. You have to draw it up for it to give the beautiful look. That is for the exaggerated sleeve to be visible. You have to draw it up. If you like, you can leave it, but better draw it up to be visible. So now the next thing to do is just to measure the opening of your sleeve where you want your sleeve to be. Just measure it. Mine is 8 inches, so I'm going to use 8 inches. I'm not going to remove anything because I will use ½ inch to sew it with the machine. With a zigzag machine, I'll use ½ inch, so I'm going to be left with 7.5. If you want, you can reduce 1 inch. It depends on how comfortable you want it to be to you, but I'm going to make use of my 8 inches. So now I'll measure out my 8 inches. This is my 8 inches. So I'll use my pin. I'll use my pin to insert it. Just put it in this form, close it up, and take your sleeve where you left 1 inch opening. You now insert it. Do you see it? I will insert it, but I'm going to safeguard the elastic so that it doesn't go in because the opening is longer than the elastic. So I will now take my pin to safeguard it. Do you see it? I'll just pin it here. When I get to this area, I will now lose it up. So I'll just pin it so that it doesn't shift. Do you see how I safeguarded it with the pin? So I'll now go through it. So now guys, I have come out from the same opening. Do you see it? Remember, the safeguarded elastic is still there. So I have come out now. Do you see it? What I'll do, I'll now remove the pin to have a good hold on the elastic, and I'll pull this out. Do you see it? Then I'll take away my pin. Do you see it? So now I'm going to take it to the machine with 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm going to use my zigzag to sew it up. I'll do the same to the other sleeve. Then I'll now put it on our mannequin and we'll see how it looks. Now guys, this is the end product of our tutorial today. Do you see how beautiful our top is looking with the exaggerated sleeve and one-sided off shoulder? It's very simple to make. It's very easy to make. So guys, if this tutorial on how to achieve this beautiful top has been helpful to you, remember to like, share and comment on my videos. And if you have not subscribed, please kindly support me by subscribing to my YouTube channel. Subscription is free. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.